So if you are looking for a bag that you may have mislaid, it has been found, and it takes the information text, the yellow and white stripes text in front of the control panel. Now are helicopters from RAF Chivalry. They're carrying the RAF Red Arrow aerobatic display team back to RAF Chivalry. They've been here this morning for a meet and greet at the Red Arrow stand. They're going back to RAF Chivalry where their jets are awaiting them. They'll probably have a light lunch, a pre-takeoff briefing, and they'll be back here in their Hawker Mark 1 jets for their Diamond season display in Diamond 9. It's going to be fantastic to see them at 3:30 this afternoon. And Ben and Andy were talking about the Hawks that did the fly past earlier, being based at Orient Valley. The Reds were actually at Orient Valley on Friday night because they based there to actually go across to the Isle of Man TT motorbike race meeting for a full display actually over the meeting. They did that on Friday evening, and that gives you a good idea of just how busy they are. This is a typically busy summer weekend for the RAF Red Arrows. They were also flying yesterday, flew back from Valley down to Bournemouth yesterday for another display at Southsea near Portsmouth, back up to Shawbury to be here for this weekend. This is a very important day for them, of course. The RAF's only air show of the year with the RAF Red Arrows. Give them a wave as they leave with their Juno helicopters heading back to RAF Shawbury. Commentator of the Red Arrows is no stranger to the Juno helicopter, often used to fly him into locations that will happen this afternoon. So you'll see a Juno come back with Red 10 a little bit later on.
Right. For you this afternoon, so I'm sure you'll notice it's not just one helicopter, it's not just a Wildcat, there is a Wasp there as well. This will be the Wildcat solo display, but a nice little formation start. It's a little extra. And between these two, we're sort of spanning 70 odd years of fleet, air arm, rotary aviation. The Wasp dating from the 1950s, and the Wildcat very much the shipborne helicopter of today. Unfortunately, that was one of the aircraft that we lost on the way in to the show. But what a great sight this is from the right-hand side. Something you don't see very often at all. The Wildcat nearest to you, and then slightly further over, the much smaller Wasp. The Santa Fe was trying to run the blockade. I believe it was first spotted by a Wessex. We have a Wessex in the static part that made a depth charge attack, but that attack was then also joined by, I think, 2 Wasps who did damage the Santa Fe and caused it to actually be beached on the shore, and that submarine was out of the war.
One of the really interesting things about how the Wasp was employed in its day was that it had no sonar of its own, and it was largely seen solely as just a weapons-carrying platform that would be sent and directed by its parent small ship, perhaps by other vessels, or maybe by a Westland Wessex HAS-3 anti-submarine helicopter to attack an enemy submarine. They could operate to up to 100 miles from their mother ship. Very different concept now with the Leonardo Wildcat, the new element of this old and new formation. And that's a lovely break.
So the Wildcat just repositioning out in front of you, what we call the B-axis. The aircraft will run straight in and go straight into a very impressive manoeuvre. Make sure you have your cameras ready from the start. Once again, they're just doing the final checks in the aircraft, making sure they are fit and ready to display. They then talk to air traffic control and then cleared in to display. And this is an aircraft that operates from the stern of frigates and destroyers. Such an important role. It It is an attack helicopter, but it can also carry out a large range of roles, often involved in search and rescue as well, light communication duties. Now is the time, with the Wildcat running in, to commence its display. This is the Solo Black Cat. As the aircraft reaches the crowd line, watch for the steep pull-up. As the speed bleeds off, the aircraft will come into the hover for the first of its, I think it's fair to say, its characteristic manoeuvre, the nose over.
There are two versions of the Wildcat in service with the UK Armed Forces. This is the Naval Wildcat HMA-2, and there's also the Wildcat AH-1, which serves with the Army Air Corps. Now, unlike its predecessor, the Lynx, both versions have a wheeled undercarriage. You'll remember that most Army Lynx, not all, the Mark 9 later had a wheeled undercarriage, but most Army Lynx had a skid landing gear, and the Naval ones had a wheeled undercarriage for shipborne operations. The decision was taken with the new Wildcat, when it was developed, to give them all wheeled landing gear.
So important when you're pushing these aircraft around on very small helicopter landing pads on the sterns of frigates and destroyers. There you see a kind of spiral loop. Those of you that remember back to the Lynx with the Black Eagles will remember the amazing backflip. I really like that manoeuvre from the Black Cat. You will see it again a little bit later on towards the end of its display. It's a kind of loop with a twist in it as well. Very, very effective. As the aircraft comes back in front of you, you can clearly see the kind of growth on its nose right on the front of the aircraft. That's the MX Westcam electro-optical device. It carries a range of sensors, including a very, very high-powered camera, able to detect targets at very long range, both day and night, in any weather condition.
And as with any platform, the Wildcat's capabilities have been developed significantly since